So, seeing as there's a new Mario Kart game right around the corner, it made me wonder, what type of tracks are we going to see in this game? Specifically, tracks that we've never seen before. Because I do feel like there's a lot of games this company has made that have just been criminally shafted in terms of how well they've been represented in the grand scheme of the verse. And when I say the verse, I mean games like Super Smash Bros. Or, well, Mario Kart. So I decided to make a collection of games that I feel have either not been represented enough, so not enough people know about them, games that have come out since the last Mario Kart, or just games that I think could make a good track. That's pretty much, that's the basics. I'm just featuring games that I want to see in the next Mario Kart. And I want to remind people that this is Mario Kart, not Nintendo Kart. I feel like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe makes people forget that, but I just want to make it clear that there will be games from separate franchises in this video that could make a potential DLC, but it is primarily Mario games. I realize this is the most cliche thing I could possibly say in a ranking video, but this is unlike all the videos I've ever done because this is purely personal opinion. And that is important because I don't want, not just because I don't want people getting pissy with the video, but also because if there's a franchise I don't mention that is obviously underrepresented in Mario Kart, there's a good chance I just haven't played the game. So if you want a Kirby track, that's great. But it's a franchise I feel nothing for, so it won't feature. I have preferences and they will be made abundantly clear in this video. Anyway, I'll just start off with the one game that's completely separate from the Mario franchise. So if you're here for just Mario games, or games that are loosely related to Mario, then skip this next entry. Otherwise, enjoy. This is honestly a game I'd be extremely surprised to not get a track with. And no, a battle track wouldn't count. I think at this point, Splatoon has become one of Nintendo's most iconic series, and it's kind of easy to forget that it all only came out just over a decade ago because of how recognizable it is now. Whether it be in a DLC track, because this game will be getting a DLC as long as it's good, or whether it be in a base game track, I would definitely assume this game would be getting a track. As to what the track would be, I really don't know, and I really don't think it matters because I reckon most of the maps in this game Nintendo could make a good track out of. Although I could very well see this track being based after either the main game setting, Alterna, or Side Order's setting, which I haven't played Side Order, but the atmosphere and aesthetic of that entire DLC just looks like it would make an interesting Mario Kart track. I'd say in this scenario, Alterna is more likely to be a map just because it's the main story, so more people will probably know what it is. If it was to become a map, I don't really think I have to say how it would work. I mean, you can use your imagination for this one. They just have to bring the islands a bit closer together and obviously bridge them, and that's about it. I mean, they could make changes to the islands. They could reduce the number of islands there are. It doesn't really matter. That's where Nintendo can use their creative genius. I'm just giving an idea. If I had to give some advice on how they could make this map better, then they could utilize the rocket. Like, when the first person crosses lap 2, the rocket could start preparing to lift off, then by lap 3, it's already set off. In the scenario that this is a multiplayer map, which I think is the more likely scenario, I'd say that Humpback Drum Track could make a cool map, because it's already got pretty decent terrain, it already looks enough like a go-kart track, and the aesthetic is pretty nice. It would make a more casual track than Alterna, but again, that's why I think it's more likely, because I think that is what Nintendo wants for a map like, well, for a game like Splatoon, because I'd assume they want to make the big tracks where they go all out, actual Mario tracks from the Mario series. Anyway, that's just about all I have to say about this game, so now let's actually move on to a Mario game. A few months ago, I would have told you with full certainty that there is no chance a Mario and Luigi game will ever have a Mario Kart track dedicated to it. But with the recent release of Brothership, I think we actually have a pretty good chance of getting this game in the next Mario Kart. This is a game I've not played a great deal of, but I've played enough to know that the style of this game looks like it falls heavily in line with what Mario Kart 9 is trying to go for. I mean, the map we got shown in the trailer wasn't really giving away a whole lot, but with the characters, it's obvious that they're going for a more cartoony representation this time. And I honestly think this map has a lot of potential for the next Mario Kart. The map would obviously be of Concordia, and it'd probably limit itself to being only the ship, just because there's not really a realistic way to implement the other islands into this game, because in the game, they're distributed across an entire sea. In terms of similarities to other tracks, I think this track could have a very similar aesthetic to Shy Guy Falls from Mario Kart 8. I say that mainly because of the rustic, covey feel of both of these areas, tied together with how closely linked it is with nature. The obvious differences are that Shy Guy Falls is way more reliant on waterfalls, obviously. But even so, I can see a lot of resemblance here. I don't know if that's just me. A map I think possibly shares even more in common with Shipshape Island is Wildwoods from Mario Kart 8 Leaf Cup. I mean, do I even have to say anything? All you have to do is turn up the saturation on this map, put in a few Mario and Luigi assets in there, and you could pretty much just call it a map. In terms of my own personal touch, again, I've got futile hours on this game. I guess you could make it so you sail past other islands that appear in the game, but other than that, that's really all I have. Again, I don't really know much about this game. You're probably wondering why I want this map in the game if I didn't really play a lot of the game in the first place, and it's simple. 1, I genuinely think this would be a good map, and 2, I just want to see a Mario and Luigi game. If I could pick for anyone to be in the next game, it wouldn't be Brothership, but there's no point in talking about why I want a Mario and Luigi Dream Team track in the next Mario Kart game, because it's never happening. Talking about a map that's actually plausible to happen makes that entry hold more weight and not feel useless talking about. If you hear me out on that, I'm glad. Now throw that viewpoint out the window, because the next entry probably has like a 5% of being in the game. But I know for a fact there's going to be at least a small portion of people out there who die on this hill with me.
What the hell is this?
Before anything, let me say I know exactly what you're thinking. This isn't a Mario game, and you're completely right, it isn't. But Mii's have been a part of Mario Kart ever since they were invented, and the same can be said for Mii-focused maps. It's gotten to the point where Mii's might as well be part of the traditional Mario Kart roster because they fit in that well. That's why I think a map like Tomodachi Life wouldn't be so out of place in this game. Although I am calling it, it won't be in the game because A, Woohoo Island exists and it's already a much more iconic setting, and it probably makes a better track. And they've already made a track about it, so, you know, reused assets and, you know, retro courses, you know, all of that. And B, it's already got a stage in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is already a massive surprise. But I'm still gonna pitch to you how this could work. You might notice how I've changed the footage to the Animal Crossing track from Mario Kart 8, and I've not done that for no reason. I think if they were to make a Tomodachi Life track, it could have at least vague resemblance to the one on screen right now. Probably just much longer, because the island is quite big. There'd be a lot to there's a lot of landmarks that I think should be in the map. So the map would start at the apartments, then it'd be a straightish road straight to the clothes store. The road would then curve right at the top and you drive down the entire left side of the island, past most of the main shops. There'd be a ramp down here by the beach where you'd come off it and you'd end up on the beach. You'd drive through the beach and then you'd end up at this love forecast machine where there'd be a bridge to the next island. You'd cross it, end up on the second island. The roads on this one would be quite windy. You'd then end up at the top of the island where the park's located. There's another bridge back to the main island where you can then drive up the observation tower because there'd be a road spiraling around it. Then at the top, you'd glide off, go back to the apartments, and that's your first lap. That's all assuming they have gliders in this game. Tell me that wouldn't be a great map. Even if that sounds too long, they could make it like Mount Wario where it's all one lap, or they could just reinvigorate the entire game and make it the first map, to my knowledge, that has 2 laps. Anyway, that's just about all I have to say about this game, so let's move on to some that's probably a bit more plausible. So this was announced, And I really don't want to change my entire entry because of a game that was announced in a completely spontaneous direct. Like, I'm pretty certain Nintendo didn't even say this was happening.
How refreshing.
They just did it. So I'll just add on to the entry right now. The odds of getting a track on the 3DS game, probably not likely anymore. It wasn't likely to begin with, but it's probably even less likely now. I guess the chances of just getting a track about Tomodachi Life in general are up. I don't really know how to feel about that, to be honest. Yeah. Also, this was just shitty timing. One concept I'm pretty surprised we've never seen in a Mario Kart track yet is a theme park track. We had an unbelievably mid-water park track in Mario Kart 8, but we've never had a clear-cut theme park track. Most of you should know where I'm going with this. Just to set the record straight, I'm saying I'd like a nighttime theme park track. I'm not saying I specifically want Will Bowser, though I wouldn't mind that. I'm just saying that this would be a very good inspiration for the track. That being said, Will Bowser itself would still be a great choice for a track in this game. With the semi-recent release of Super Mario 3D World, Will Bowser, at least in my opinion, is probably one of the most impressive settings that's ever been brought into a Mario game. And I'd say by now quite a lot of people know about it. The fact that it hasn't even been mentioned since the release of Super Mario 3D World honestly is astounding to me. And being serious, tying together the aesthetics, what they could do with a theme park, and just generally World Bowser, this could be an amazing track. For example, they could make a part of the track where there's roller coaster tracks going through the road that act as a stage hazard. Or they could add a part where you have to go through a carousel which changes direction each lap. So you have to go with the direction of the carousel for the added speed bit, a bit like the escalators in Coconut Mall. As for tracks it could be similar to, again, it's kind of hard to wager because Nintendo hasn't made a theme park track, but in terms of aesthetics, literally any Neo track that exists. Neo Bowser City, Electrodome, Waluigi's Pinball Stadium. I know some people might think this aesthetic has been overused, but that doesn't bother me. I think this map could still be unique with enough cool gimmicks put into it. If you want to talk about overused aesthetics, then let's talk about Bowser's Castle. Now, assuming Nintendo does just make this Will Bowser, which again, I don't mind either way, they could throw a bit of a curveball and just use this map to replace the Bowser's Castle we get every single game. On one hand, Bowser's Castle is iconic, but on the other hand, it does take up a slot that could be spent on a more unique track, i.e. this. We'd still be getting a Bowser track, and it's not even like Bowser's Castle is as iconic as a map as, say, Rainbow Road or even Mario Circuit. I bet at least half of you watching this never even actively knew that we get a new Bowser's Castle every single Mario Kart, so I can't really see people being that outraged by this. That's not to say we can't get a Bowser's Castle in a retro track, which I'd say is enough. To be honest, I think I am overthinking this because Will Bowser might as well be Bowser's Castle. They do have the same role in the game, so to be honest, it really doesn't matter. I know this video might seem a bit random in comparison to what I usually do, and to be honest, the only reason this exists is to bridge the gap. Not the only reason, but it's to bridge the gap to a video that's taking pretty long to make, and it just feels wrong leaving my channel in like blackness for that long, so... and after that video is made, I think I'm going to hold out on making videos that'll take that long, like videos that could be considered big projects. Because this one I'm making at the moment, it will reach at least 40 minutes long. I also just want to make something that shows I acknowledge the existence of Mario Kart 9. I also get that these are some pretty dastardly takes, or at least some people might think that. I just really respect when companies take unusual and risky decisions in order to like appeal to one group but potentially dissatisfying others. For that reason, I'd enjoy pretty much any concept for a track as long as it is done good and it's not just unbelievably boring. Then yeah, I'll appreciate the track. So if you have any track ideas, then feel free to share. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I get that it's not what I usually do, but I do just want to try new formats for my videos, so I hope you enjoyed, and until next time.